Immortals, royals, and initiations. Today's discussion is about the immortals that live among us on the planet. And they've been here for a very long time. And currently, I'm going to be discussing a group of 10. I sort of know them as the 10 immortals. And they are associated with a royal Marquest. And this idea of immortals being associated with different levels of royalty goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. And this is because of many things that the intellectual and sort of Renaissance group of minds were generally in the royal families. And they own land, which at many of the times isolated them from the general population, so they could come and go from a manor, an estate, which was always very large, so they could stay there or have a wing in one of the estates where they could come and go and in privacy because the house was large enough and the land around them protected them. So this tradition has carried on even now, as I mentioned, that there is a current Marquest that is working with 10 immortals. And this idea of land bases is still occurring. There have been times when these immortals have owned their own bank accounts, their own businesses, and they had a way of bequeathing or passing it on to another name and another entity or another group or another trust while still maintaining control over it under a different name. But they also use surrogates, such as this particular person I mentioned, this royal that I mentioned. They can also hold trusts or businesses or bank accounts that are being used for the purposes that the immortals have to use as they see fit on current events on the planet. Now, this is a different discussion than some of my other ones, which I have been talking a lot about transferring your consciousness into higher densities or frequencies of light, such as the migration, where many of you will be migrating your consciousness to fourth density Star Trek type high-tech worlds. Some will go into fifth density, and those are extremely advanced consciousnesses that process information so fast that you couldn't even comprehend their level of intellect. And then I mentioned also sixth density beings, which are star beings. They create their, quote, light bodies from stars. And so a light body being has a foundation in a star. So today's discussion is, while we have a migration of people moving into these other frequencies and into other planets and out into the universe, because people are now, some people, this is also a library for future generations, since my generation and probably right below me are still pretty attached to their earth bodies and seductions and addictions and families and lineages. There's a small group possibly now that is ready to leave the earth. But for the majority of humanity, they stay attached to the earth when they die in the astral planes, a mirror image of their life on earth, because they are still attached to their identity. So immortals are a different group in that they became a highly evolved, highly advanced human. They perfected their entire blueprint, which we know from previous videos is corrupted and tweaked and designed to be highly addictive. And they, through great discipline of their mind, through high intellect and high discipline of their mind, and through mastering their emotions and through laser-like focus and determination were able to master their bodies. That includes their electromagnetic, their physical, emotional, and mental bodies, to the point where they could achieve higher consciousness while in their physical body. So immortals are holding consciousnesses that are at a higher frequency than third density consciousness. And while many fifth density beings manifest their bodies on planets in ways that are not like we do on Earth through birthing children, those higher density consciousnesses can maintain inside a human body once the human body has been, when I say perfected, what I mean is it has been mastered. And so you can remember, consciousness is attached to our divine blueprint. It's not attached to the body. So higher frequency consciousness can come in and get anchored into a human body that has been mastered. And so these immortals are vibrating at a higher density of consciousness. So they are capable of, bilocating from one part of the planet to another and manifesting objects such as food perhaps, or, jewelry, or, I'm just using simple things, but they can manifest from thought and create, they can heal, they can do all kinds of things. So this brotherhood that I'm speaking of, there are other immortals besides this 10 I'm speaking of. I met an immortal back in the 90s who, when I was having lunch at a little cafe across the street from Whole Foods, I talk about this in my book. It was 11 o'clock in the morning, and I went into a little restaurant and I got something to eat. There was hardly anybody there. There was lots of tables, a couple of people. I was eating my lunch before going grocery shopping. I was halfway through when an Indian woman had also ordered lunch. You ordered it at the counter and you had to go back and get it. And she got it, and she came and sat down with me. She asked, "Can I sit with you?" And the whole place was almost empty. So I thought, well, maybe she wants some company. So she sat with me, and she began to quiz me about my ideas on ascension and immortality and higher consciousness, just out of the blue. I mean, this was not a topic I was planning to talk about. I was finishing up my lunch. I was going grocery shopping. So we chatted about these very esoteric topics, but being the fact that she was an Indian lady from India, I assumed that she must be quite into these ideas. So I then pardoned myself and, thanked her for the visit, but that I was leaving now. And I left her with more than half of her food, because she hardly even touched her food. I left her with a good amount of her food on her plate. I went across the street to Whole Foods, and I went into Whole Foods, and when I started to go down an aisle, I noticed at the end of the aisle, she was standing there with a basket full of groceries. And so this shocked me, and there was no way she could have left where she was and gotten there ahead of me and filled up her whole basket of groceries. I left her at the restaurant, and here she was. So I started kind of not running, but quickly walking down that aisle. She turned that aisle, and when I finally got there and turned the aisle, she was gone. And I was later informed that she was an immortal. And so there are these kinds of beings around on the planet, and they may, being that she was from India or had the heritage from India, she may be associated with a group from that corner of the world. But the 10 immortals that I am speaking about today, they are mostly associated with the Western teachings and Western philosophy. Many of them were alchemists, and I studied alchemy for a while. In the 1990s, I had my own lab in the basement with a big furnace and distillery, and I studied under Jean Du Bois from France, and I did a lot of spagyrics and working with metals. And of course you have to work with the nature spirits, you have to work with the sun and the moon, you have to work with angels. There's all kinds of metaphysical, spiritual things that go into spagyrics and alchemy. So some of these immortals throughout their time on earth have also been alchemists. They've been, they start a lot of times working with what I call the astral earth energies. Those people that you know that are magicians, or they're Celtic people who love to be witches, and they like to be involved in witchcraft or magic or Celtic philosophies. These are people who are using astral magic, and that is a very real source of energy, because the astral plane is filled with our emotions and our desires, and entities live there that we have created throughout our lifetimes, either through magical spells and things, or they are our ancestors that they went to the astral worlds, and many people call on their ancestors from the astral plane to help them with magic they want on earth. So there's a lot of this earth magic going on. And many of these immortals at one point, went through that idea, because we're talking hundreds of years ago. So they have a background of sort of the earth magic. They have a background of alchemy. Some of them had contact with extraterrestrials, and these masters also taught them higher ways of using their consciousness, because these particular immortals are not involved in technology. Do they use technology? Yes, they use it on the earth like we all do, but they didn't gain their mastery from ETs in fourth density that would teach them technology. So anytime you have stories of humans encountering beings and they show these beings high technology, these are fourth density ETs, or fourth density beings like Watchers, Archons, because they are heavy into technology. But there is a group of higher density beings who are teaching people on this planet through specific initiations how to expand and advance their consciousness so that they have the power within them. And so this is what's happening on the earth. The earth right now is moving into fourth density high technology, while there is a small group that is being trained and initiated into expanding their consciousness, which is what this library is about, expanding your consciousness, reaching into multidimensionality, higher frequencies of information, because all the densities and frequencies of consciousness I talk about are just greater levels of information, or greater access to your own abilities which live inside of you. Because not only do you have DNA you're not using that's not been activated, but because you have a divine blueprint, and I have videos on that, this divine blueprint, which is multidimensional, is constantly informing your body. And this blueprint has great powers up in higher dimensions that our body is capable of accessing. But our consciousness has to release all our old belief systems and all our old programmings and our addiction to the astral world through our addictions to food and drugs and alcohol and sex and power and whatever else we're addicted to, and are addicted to earth magic, and are addicted to astral phenomena such as, doing drugs and seeing and talking to plants, and the plants light up and you see the auras. These are all astral things. They're not negative, but they are attached to earth. And so to get a higher consciousness, you have to meditate your way into higher frequencies, and there's really no way around it. You have to spend time in meditation. And these other 10 immortals that I speak about, while they were in hundreds of years, some of them are, are hundreds and hundreds of years old, while they have gone through all the different kinds of sources of information the planet has to offer through these alchemy and magic and things like this, they managed to perfect themselves and gain these powers through the expansion of their mind. Their human mind was reprogrammed. There were new pathways that were activated and DNA that was activated, and the blueprint, our divine blueprint, was able to bring down more information. And then when you would gain this more information, you then went through a period of testing that information and mastering it. And these are like initiations that a human would be going through their whole life and not even know they were being initiated, but that these immortals knew these people and were watching them and were giving them guidance all along their lifetime. And it was like test or initiations. Here is something, how are you going to deal with this? Here is something, how are you going to deal with that? So it was always a process of gaining new knowledge, using it, testing it, and mastering it. And along these initiations, it is always about releasing fear and gaining self-confidence and gaining your own internal mastery and your own power. So the way immortals have managed to move into their state of immortality is that they have gained this powerful energy system inside their body's frequency, their electromagnetic body, their physical body. They have amassed a great amount of power within them, and they are using this power to manifest their will. And all of this is gained through testing and practicing and meditation, and then mastering your craft, because everyone has their own spiritual gifts. All of these immortals have different gifts that they are really, really excelling at, even though they all have a common amount of gifts. And so you have a gift, they watch you, they see how you're using your gift, how you're mastering your gift. They look to see how much fear is still contained in your body and how you are mastering fear, how you're mastering your body. And so over a period of years and decades and long periods of time, one or two people are selected from humanity to go through a higher process of initiation for immortality. And the reason that there are these immortals here is that they are easily capable of leaving this planet and going into other planets and into other frequencies and living in other realities. But they have chosen to work a program, to be a part of the program that's going on here on this planet. And they have chosen to stay here and to monitor the program and to access divine knowledge and to bring it forth at different periods of history. They are responsible for activating certain kinds of knowledge that's brought forth from their knowledge. And so they are here to assist and to guide humanity, but they are also here to work with humans to advance humans. And when humans become more advanced in their minds and control their emotions, they are then offered an opportunity to work with them. And so this is another avenue that we have besides working with extraterrestrials and going up on their spaceships and being taken off to other planets. We can choose to stay here, but in staying here and helping Earth, it does require a very similar initiation of going into other planets and higher dimensions. You have to master yourself. And so that is the topic for today. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.